Hello, Mike the Burge from the Ultimate Guide to Chasing.com, announcing a special project we have going on this NFL season. This year we're taking a look under the hood of Accuscore.com. Now Accuscore is a touting service that does 10,000 computer simulations of each game and gives projections based on their results. Now the question is really simple. Can we use this information to make money? And I have a few different strategies that we're going to test using this information. Straight betting, which is pretty self-explanatory. 10-point teasers, which is like a 3-team parlay, except you get to take 10 points off from the spread of each team that you choose. And the semi-arbitrage, which is a little more complicated to explain, so we'll take it over to my whiteboard and show you the concept. Okay, up here we have Accuscore's predictions. Now they were favoring Philadelphia in the opener against the Atlanta Falcons as negative 1.5 favorites. And they gave a percentage of what they thought the probability was going to be of winning that. Now they had 60.3%, and then they were predicting for the over to hit 44.5 at 58.6%. Now, this game actually went off last Thursday night, and the score was 12 Atlanta Falcons, 18 Philadelphia. So the under hit instead of the over, so this prediction didn't come through, but this prediction did come through. Philadelphia won by 6 points. So, in a semi-arbitrage, we could actually still win this bet using this information. And the way we do that is we want to place a bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, so we'll say that Philly is on this side and Atlanta is on that side. So you first start by placing a bet on Philadelphia, and you have roughly a 50% chance of winning. Okay, according to this, you have 60.3%, which is going to give you the edge theoretically. Now, Philadelphia isn't necessarily going to win, so with a semi-arbitrage, we're going to try to cover an angle just in case Atlanta pulls out the win. So, what we're going to do is we are going to, since they favor the over in this, and we already have Philadelphia, we're going to say, just in case the over hits but Atlanta wins, not Philadelphia, we're going to parlay Atlanta. Okay? You parlay that with the over 44.5. So, you take this line here, and now you have just this little piece of pie down here. Okay? Straight up, you have a 75% chance of winning. Now, if these percentages are anywhere near accurate at all, they're going to cut into this piece of pie even more. So let's say that Philadelphia really is a 60% chance of winning. So instead of that being 50-50 from here to here, it's going to cut in to about there. Okay? Now, if the over really is a 58% chance of hitting, we've already got Philadelphia, whether they go over or under. So, the only other possibility is Atlanta hitting, and you cut into that possibility even more. So theoretically, this is giving you a better chance to win. You start out with a 75% chance of winning, and you cut into both sides using this concept. Once you know what side you're going to bet, you take the information of how much you're bet and how much you're risking, for the return. Okay, a straight bet on Philly, you're going to have to lay $110 to win 100. So we call that negative 110. And then I'm just pulling this number out of my head right now, but if you parlay Atlanta and the over, it's going to be somewhere around plus 265. So you take negative 110 and plus 265 and you place it into an arbitrage calculator. And basically you try to balance that information out, and you're going to win roughly 25% of whatever you're risking. So if you're risking 100 and this thing hits, you're going to win about $25. Now, on the upside, as you saw, one of the predictions was wrong. The over didn't hit, but you still would have won that bet using this concept. And that's the whole idea behind the semi-arbitrage. It's giving you insurance, giving you a higher probability of winning a particular bet. Now, one of the concepts that we're going to be testing during this experiment is chase systems. There's the martingale system, the anti-martingale, and there's just tons of variations off from this. But the idea is basically the same no matter what you're doing. You're raising and lowering your bet size based off from wins and losses instead of the probability of the actual game that you're playing now. And the experts say that this does not give you a positive expectation, but that's specifically against a game that is random. Now, I have a theory that sports betting is not random. I call that the Pendulum Cycle theory, and we'll get then into that a little bit more in a moment. But I wanted to talk about how a lot of touting services out there, they use these chase systems to make massive claims and basically lie to you about your odds of winning. Okay, there's one company that comes to mind, Sports Betting Champ by John Morrison. His ads were ridiculous. They claimed that you win 97% of your bets. Now, John Morrison, or whoever he actually was, ended up getting shut down by the federal government. Basically, they found, the whole thing that was false advertising and fraudulent. And even though the Sports Betting Champ, which was a long-standing company, is now seized and done, there's a lot of people in their place, making the same claims, using the same concept. Now, the only way for a chase system to actually work is if past results affect future results. And the pendulum cycle theory explains that this is actually the case with sports betting, but it's specific to sports betting. It doesn't work with card counting or roulette or anything like that. Those games are pretty much random. Card counting is less random, but still, the results of your past hand isn't going to affect your future results in the same way that sports betting does. And I always use the Patriots as the example to explain this concept. In 2007, the New England Patriots had their perfect season. And when they started out, they were negative 6-point favorites. So as they began to win, that spread started creeping up. Okay, now it went so far that in week 12 against the Eagles, they were negative 24-point favorites. So with each win, the spread kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, obviously, as the point spread rises, it becomes more and more difficult to cover that spread. And basically, you have, a bunch of things working against you. Number one is, more points to cover. Number two, the other teams out there are looking for your weaknesses, and each week they're trying to expose it. And every time that a team figures something out, the other teams copy what they're doing. And, the advantage that the Patriots had slowly went away as the season progressed. You could see that they were winning by smaller and smaller percentages, but they kept covering, so they still had high point spreads. So the idea is eventually this pressure coming down, you know, increased point spreads, the other team's trying to figure out what you're doing, Las Vegas trying to keep people from taking them to the cleaners. Okay, all this makes that pendulum eventually come and swing the other way. Okay, so if you bet on the Patriots the first half of the season, you were winning. Well, the second half, the point spreads got so big that they couldn't cover anymore. Plus the teams were playing them better, and eventually you started losing. So the second half of the season, you would have lost just about every bet you made except for one, I believe. Who was it? It was the Steelers. They covered against the Steelers, but lost against the spread on every other game just because the spreads were too big. Okay, wrapping up, basically what we're looking for is to see if we can use AccuScore to create a winning advantage. Now, whether we do that with chase systems or straight betting doesn't matter to me. But I'm not going to stand here and lie to people and say that, you know, chase systems is what's giving you the advantage. If this works, that's not what's happening. Okay, so now with AccuScore, the thing that I really like about it is they have circle graphs that have a ton of information in it. Okay, at a glance, you can see their predictions for the over-under, the money line, and against the spread. And they actually put their percentages of what they think the probability is of each of those outcomes happening. So, throughout the season, what I'm going to do is I'm going to track these, and anything that's like, you know, over a 58% chance, you know, 60 would be better, but, you know, a lot of them are less than 60%, so I'd say the cutoff's probably going to be around 58%. You know, I'm going to take a really close look at any game that they predict at 58% or higher, and at the end of the season, we're going to take a look back and see how accurate those predictions really were. You know, we'll see how many bets that they put out with that percentage, and then, you know, we'll divide it out and see what the real percentage is at the end of the season. So, without further ado, this is Mike Thurberge from the Ultimate Guide to Chasing.com, and we'll see you in the next video.